Hello and welcome. My name is Jake and I'm joined by Charlie as we discuss the world of football with a focus on data. This is Football with the Faff.
So hello and welcome to a little bit of a review of the last 2 weeks. So Jake, how have you been getting on?
I think, been getting on well. The football's been a little bit mad. It's felt like it's gone quite quickly. I don't know about you. But yeah, I think it's a good chance to just look back over the last couple of weeks and just see how do we feel about the season's going. Obviously, we're 5 games in now, and you're starting to be able to make a few conclusions.
Yeah, so instead of going through everything, we'll do a little whistle-stop tour of the kind of important things. So we'll start off by running through with Spurs. So what have your thoughts been on Spurs over the last few weeks?
A bit of PTSD, a bit of I look. I never know what to think of Spurs. We can be on cloud nine 1 minute and then 6 foot under the next. I mean, we started against Brentford abysmally, conceded in 23 seconds. I mean, to be fair, it was a lovely goal, but then we really turned it on. It was certainly one of our best performances of the season. Probably could have scored more, but you'll take a 3-1 win at home, and then you probably want me to talk about the North London derby. That was frustrating, disappointing, and I'd been calling Gabriel scoring for a corner against us for the week leading up, so I was not surprised when it went in. But yeah, it was just disappointing not being able to score. But yeah, how have you seen Spurs?
Yeah, I think I've seen Spurs how I've seen Spurs over the last however long, really. An entertaining watch, but at the end of it, just I don't want to say lacks leadership because I think that's maybe a little bit unfair, but just lacks that kind of ability to keep things calm over a prolonged period. Lack that ability to kind of, like I said, like City, kind of just to be boring and consistently win over a few weeks. It's always like the highs are really high, and the next week you dip really low again.
Yeah, I mean, you can take our game against Karabag a few days ago. We go down to 10 men 7 minutes in. We like to spice things up a bit. Don't want to make it boring for the neutral. And it's just, why do it the easy way when you can just create as many storylines as you want? Seems to be our motto. And interestingly enough, we had a sort of fan forum at the club. So you had Daniel Levy, you had Ange and Son, sort of all sitting up on a stage, and some people were selected to be able to go. And Levy was asked what are his 3 highlights. Like, if he had to pick 3 of the best things during his time at Spurs, what are they? So he said, winning the League Cup, opening the stadium, and having great players as our 3.
I'm surprised he can remember the League Cup, to be fair, and then the other 2, I'm not really sure. If you're stretching for a highlight, that seems a little bit far, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was like, okay, yeah.
I think it's interesting as well to kind of see what's going on the other side of North London, where, like, for example, you talk about that North London derby, you had 63% of the ball, yet you didn't ever really look like troubling them. It's kind of they are becoming, and I know we'll head on to Arsenal and the game against City in a little bit, but they are becoming an intelligent, kind of pragmatic rather than creative, but real force at Arsenal. And you lot still kind of seem in that period of, we're going to do things our way, we'll see how it goes, and eventually we'll hopefully bring it all together.
Yeah.
at what point, or is it Big Ange's way at all to do that? But at what point do you go, right, there's a few things that we're doing that we love and everyone loves watching, we're going to keep doing them. But there are a few things that are just costing us games now. These have got to stop. Like his comments last year about how he said he's never going to focus on set pieces because he's never won a league with them. That to me is just baffling.
Yeah, one thing with the set pieces that was taken out of context last year is he was asked, I believe it was, are set pieces your biggest problem at Spurs? And he went, no. And at the time I agreed with him because I felt we needed a new sort of holding midfielder to control it better because we were just getting run through too easily. But yeah, there's been no change. You know, our set piece coaches aren't set piece coaches. You know, it's not their forte. It's not what they're known for. I mean, when you look at coaches in teams, often you can be surprised at their roles. And yeah, it just sort of feels like we need someone there. Oh, we're mates with this guy. You want a job? Sure, come in and do this. I'm getting to the point where it's more and more surprising that nothing's being done because it's costing us and it's terrifying. But I don't know if anything will be done.
Yeah, and I just think, again, you look at the other side and Arsenal have always been known as this kind of a lovely ball playing around the back team for a very long time, really. And they're, I don't know, clear, relentless hard work to make the most of set pieces defensively and offensively is going to be the difference between 10 and 15 points this year for them. I mean, it's enormous.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're going to be at that top level at the moment in the Premier League, it's not enough to just do the things that you already do quite well better. You have to be perfect. If you're going to compete with City, you have to be perfect in every aspect of the game. And that's maybe where I worry, especially for Ange in general.
Yeah, I think with Spurs is, you know, we don't a lot of people don't expect to win. You know, that's not the requirement at the start of the season. So if you're not going to win, you need to feel entertained. You need to feel good. You know, you need to have memories.
Oh, I get that bit totally. Yeah, 100%.
So, you know, whereas under Jose and Conte, where it was so negative and it wasn't paying off, it just creates a horrible, horrible atmosphere because you're not enjoying watching your team play, you're not enjoying the outcomes, and there's not really anything to look forward to. As whereas with this, we've got some exciting young players coming through. Potentially one day we might win. You know, we might win big. But we feel like we can still compete, you know? It doesn't feel like we're giving up.
Is there still that kind of good feeling? Or is it starting to be a little bit tempered of, yeah, we're great to watch, but when are we going to fix these very obvious problems we have defensively?
Yeah, I think that's always the case, but there is a feel-good thing about the way we play and the way we can break teams down. Obviously, it doesn't happen enough, and I think that's partly down to, I think, Solanke's, you know, he didn't have a pre-season with us. He sort of got chucked straight in, then he got injured. I think if he has a decent run of games, we could start seeing a difference with him because he works off the ball so well. Against Karabag, he was running all over the shop. And he really made a difference. Obviously, Johnson, 3 goals in 3 games now. So I sort of feel like as the players can get more confident and get more used to the system and their teammates, we can start to see a more clinical, more professional side.
Yeah, I think maybe that Brennan Johnson thing has put a little bit of a cloud over it.
Mm.
And maybe from an outside perspective, that's why things seem a bit more negative at Spurs.
Yeah, well, the thing with that though is, whilst he was getting all that abuse in the stadium, he's been getting a lot more praise. So, um, like fans were singing "There's only one Brennan Johnson," and he was getting like a standing ovation when he got subbed off and stuff. Like, there's always going to be people that ruin it for the majority, you know. But the key point is that you still stick with each other. You still, fight together, because at the end of the day, you're not gonna win anything. You're not gonna see your team win anything if everyone's divided. So yeah, I'm really happy for him that he's getting this good run of form, and long may it continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, there's clearly some good players there as well. If it does start clicking, I mean, Van der Ven, Romero, obviously Johnson's on a mad run at the moment, which no one expected. But I mean, Solanke, if he does start scoring, Maddison on his day, and there are clearly some very good players in that team.
Yeah, Maddison's been turning up more and more this season, which is nice to see. I think Basuma's had a few good games. Bentancur has as well when he's been put in. So, yeah, for me, maybe I'm just optimistic. And again, I'm not expecting us to win anything, but it's just, we've had so much turmoil. It's just trying to get a bit of stability and say, right, this is our team, and having that maybe naivety, but just that confidence to go for games. Because, too long you can feel like you're a small dog trying to yap, and it's like, we've got some firepower. We can hurt teams. We can beat City. We can beat Arsenal. We can beat Liverpool. We just need to get that consistency a bit more and keep that belief that we can beat teams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I can't disagree with you at all. Well, I think maybe the kind of natural progression from that conversation is to move on to a specific game, go on to Arsenal versus City.
Yep.
Obviously, Arsenal going down to 10 men. I'd love to say we saw a different side of Arsenal. Not quite sure we did. I think they've certainly shown over the last few weeks that they've got it in them to sit in. What did you make of the game?
I thought they were a bunch of dirty players who don't deserve to be on the pitch. I missed about the first 15-20 minutes. I think it was 1-1 by the time I started watching. But I saw the first two goals. I couldn't believe that they'd given Haaland so much space for City's goal, and that was within like 10 minutes. Like that was really poor, just to say, oh yes, go on, have a run. And then obviously Calafiori got a really nice goal back for them. And I was a bit disappointed in City's defence as well for that, because everyone just sort of ran back into the box and didn't think, oh, let me just have a yard out so that I can close down anyone that's coming in. It was a bit of a schoolboy error, but yeah, I predicted a 1-0 City win. I thought it would be a very close game. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was a draw before the game, and it did play out similarly to how I expected it to. And then obviously the red card. It is frustrating for them, obviously, but I don't think it majorly changed how they were going to play. Obviously, it's one less player on the pitch, so it's one less option. But in terms of how sort of set in they were, I thought that's how they would be. I always felt like they were trying to play for a draw. Obviously, they then get into the lead from a corner, but it's then instantly, right, come on, we sit and hold. So I I I wasn't surprised with it, but I don't know. A top of the table clash. I just sort of I enjoyed those Liverpool City games where they sort of both went at each other, and you'd get some bigger scorelines. So for me, as well, because I don't like Arsenal, it was a little bit disappointing to watch.
I have to say, I thought the total opposite. That was my kind of game. That I know it got spoiled a little bit by the red card, but it's refreshing to have a top of the table clash with a bit of bad feeling again. I mean, when Haaland threw that ball at Gabriel, it all boiled over at the end. I know David Raya going down and all the time wasting would have really frustrated everyone. That little bit of bad feeling just made it. It's so refreshing to see that at the end. Like, the number of times we've seen these fantastic games between Liverpool and City, and they all walk off smiling, holding hands, and you just think, do they really care? Like, whereas there is a little bit of, and maybe that's why Liverpool never really ran them close enough, bar the 1 year they won the league. Maybe that is the difference. Maybe Arsenal will just up their game that little bit because there will be that bad feeling. I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. It was complete football versus anti-football. But it was fantastic. I have to say, it's the game I've enjoyed most since I watched Spurs v Chelsea when it won Leicester the league. That Battle of the Bridge.
Yeah,
it was just, they're the kind of games I want to watch.
Yeah.
I'd much rather watch that than any of the City-Liverpool games I've seen.
I get that point, and I agree with that point. It's nice to see that ferocity, that passion. But I just think as well, a point that I forgot, that in a way I felt like it was Arsenal's chance to win there, because City didn't have De Bruyne and they lost Rodri really early on. So if you want to play City, they're probably two of the, well, obviously Haaland you'd want to miss, but they're two of the big players that you'd say, yeah, okay, I'll take them being out.
I can't disagree, but to be fair, Arsenal are missing Odegaard, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, they're not got a bad side, No,
I mean neither of City though. For being honest, I mean you take Phil Foden in for the second half and replace him for, I don't know, Gundogan or whoever else you're putting in. Obviously, De Bruyne was out. I'd still rather have City's squad on the day. I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. I just mean, like, I think I saw it was like 9 years since Arsenal won there, so it's sort of, if you want an opportunity to really make a statement, that's your chance.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, look, I'll give credit to them. They almost got over the line. I did feel that eventually City would get something, and they obviously did. But yeah, I wanted a little bit more sort of action, and make it a little bit more of a contest rather than just one-sided.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll run through a couple of the stats, but obviously I'm sure you've seen Kai Havertz made 0 passes after 90 minutes. I've got another one here. Timber played 89 minutes and made 2.
Gosh.
And there were a various number of players that played the second half and made less than 5. Trossard played 44 minutes, made 4. Ben White played the second half and only made 3. That said, though, Haaland only made 4 in his 90 minutes.
Yeah, he never really takes many touches or passes, does he? But he always seems to score.
Exactly. But yeah, and obviously the other thing you can't go without talking about, which Arsenal will be gutted that they obviously in essence dropped 2 points in the last minute, but how many points is it going to cost City to lose Rodri?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a huge loss.
That's huge.
It's a horrible injury too. But I don't know, something in me just thinks they're going to find another person that's going to suddenly shine and they're going to steady the boat.
Wouldn't surprise me if he starts playing John Stones in there.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Obviously Stones is...
I know Kovacic came on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Stones has had his sort of injuries somewhat recently and stuff, but yeah, he had sort of that adaptive role where he would go into that area before, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me at all.
But yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see how they deal with that, because I think there are only two players City can't replace, and they are Haaland and Rodri in this season during injuries. And yeah, Rodri out for the season is a killer. That really is a killer. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It is refreshing though, regardless of the talent of either of them, just to see two teams that hate each other play a game on a weekend. Yeah, that it just always makes it a better watch, no matter how good or bad the teams are. But yeah, all right. Well, we can move on to Man United if you like. I mean,
Wow.
I'm happy to talk you through
So
a few bits. It could be a very short conversation.
high flying Man United. Oh wait.
Yeah, so I guess the last time we would have talked would have been before the Southampton game.
Yeah.
Which is a game that could have easily gone two ways. Anana's penalty save was obviously big. And then dare I say, it was quite comfortable.
Yeah, I think that penalty save was definitely the turning point, because Southampton were making a fair amount of chances against you, and it did feel inevitable that they would score. And then I remember seeing Archer get the ball, and he had to wait for it to be checked or something, and just his sort of posture and sort of the look on his face, I was like, he's not scoring this. And it's a very tame penalty that he scores. So I think I saw somewhere that it's like his first senior penalty or something.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I was like, would he have been the best? I can understand like trying to get him off the mark and stuff, but have you not got someone that's a bit more confident with them? And yeah, I feel that just sort of killed the hope a bit. It just changed the atmosphere. It's like, what was so promising has now turned to nothing. And then, what is it? A couple minutes later, De Ligt scores, and that just sort of kills it, I think.
Yeah, then after that, I thought it was fairly comfortable, yeah. I think that was kind of the start of Rashford's rejuvenation over the last few weeks as well. He's playing with a lot more confidence. He looks happier, maybe, is a better word, which is nice, because the team's issue over the last couple of years has been scoring goals.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that if all of your forwards aren't scoring, so as long as one of them is. He's had a good couple of weeks. It's been kind of the start of Eriksen's renaissance as well, a slightly weird one. I think Eriksen's future kind of looked done. It looked like he was going to kind of whimper till January and then leave on a free probably. But he's come in and made a real big difference over the last few weeks. Yeah, and Agate has come in and looks slightly different to what I thought he would. He's a little bit tidier on the ball than I expected, which is nice. But regardless of that, we still drew 0-0 with Palace and drew 1-0 with FC20 at home. So for all the positives, we're just not picking up enough points at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're a very difficult team to predict at the minute, because you can make chances, but your finishing hasn't been great. And then also you got the fact that you can often... your defence can just fall asleep, and it's like, oh god, where did they come from? How do they suddenly have the ball? Yeah. I mean, I saw the highlights of your game, and one of the FC20 players just ran through like half your team.
Yeah, and I mean that moment was the turning point as well in the game. After that, we just retreated.
Yeah.
I guess it shows the kind of fragility, mental fragility of the team, maybe.
Do you have many players to come back from injury now?
Not any that are going to be that important, but I mean, Hoyland's been in and around the squad over the last couple of weeks, so he will be important, and same with Mount. But again, are they going to start? I don't know. I'd like to think Hoyland will get a few more games. I think it will be an interesting point as to what he ends up doing with the wingers, because he's messed around with, because Garnacho hasn't been fit. He's kind of messed around with Ahmad, Garnacho, Rashford, and kind of rotated between the three. It'll be interesting to see what he does settle on. I think the centre-back partnership will be for the season, and I think it is the strongest, the De Ligt and Martinez, so if they can keep fit and kind of continue to gel together, I think that's a fine decision to be in. The only player we'd really, really desperately like to step up, because obviously Hoyland's very close to being fit, and by all accounts so is Mount, but the one player we'd really like to step up, I think, is Luke Shaw, because Dallo is having a good season, just as he did last year. He is a good player, but Shaw is, when he's on it, he really is I mean, I think he's the best left back in the league by a country mile when he's playing well. And again, the issue is he ever going to be fit? Maybe not, but that would be a big one for us, I think. And when Luke Shaw plays, he gets the best out of Rashford, because it means Rashford can kind of focus on finishing. He doesn't have to make everything happen. But yeah, in terms of last year especially, I think, although it was used as an excuse, I think it was fair a lot of the time that we just had so many players out injured. This year we're not in that situation yet, so it's a tough one. You can't really hide behind that they have to start playing and gelling together quickly. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's that much to say about us. We've kind of, don't think anyone is too low at the moment, to be fair, in terms of the fans. So there's not too much bad feeling.
Yeah, I think as well, we're 5 games in, but it's still very early in the season. In another 5 games, you could win them all, and it's a completely different story. So I think that if you start getting a bit of consistency and just, stitch together a few wins in a row, that can just boost you and go, okay, yeah, the team's gelling now. But I do think that when you play us on Sunday, that's going to be a big test, because I feel like we're quite similar. We can play well, we can score, but also we can just gift goals away.
I think it would be very interesting, because I think it doesn't suit us well. I think you lot are very good on the transition, and we do leave big gaps kind of all across the pitch when we go for it. I think that isn't an ideal situation for us to be in. That said, I think your fullbacks really bottom on, and when we've played most of our games under Ten Hag and won, it's been because the wingers have had a really big impact on the game. We don't normally play through the middle too often, so when your fullbacks do bomb on and come into midfield, if you are leaving a bit of a gap there, that's where the goals could come. That said, I don't see us scoring, but yeah, it will be an interesting one, and I think it's a game you'll go into as favourites, probably quite considerably favourites as well.
Okay. I do think that Rashford should get a fair amount of chances in the game, because Porro obviously loves to attack, and we've been caught out a fair few times of that gap in behind there. So yeah, it will be an interesting game, but for me, and we'll get on to our predictions later, but for me, I think that you've still got a very good chance of winning it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. And like I said, when we've won games under Ten Hag, it's been because the wingers have been fantastic. Rashford scoring goals again. Garnacho's kind of around about fully fit. Ahmad's had a really good start to the season, so maybe it could be the week that it all kind of comes together.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about one more team before we go on to predictions, and we're going to talk about Chelsea. Chelsea are obviously a very mixed bag, and we're going to try and unpack whatever we can of Chelsea's start to the season. So over the last few weeks, obviously their kind of difference has been Jadon Sancho. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it, Sancho? So he's played 2 games, he's only started once, and he's got 2 assists. But obviously we talked about kind of misleading stats over the start of the year, and you said about the expected assisted goals. So he's got 2 assists from 0.7, obviously in 2 starts. And he's just looking confident, he's looking good on the ball, but again, is he just one of a million other wingers doing the same job at Chelsea? I don't know. If someone else was there, would they be doing the same thing just as well? I can't tell.
Yeah, well, that is the thing with Chelsea. They've got 1,000 players in every position. But it's been quite nice to see him playing again and him playing with a bit of confidence. You know, he's taking people on. He's being a bit creative as well. Now, I know that one of his assists, I think, was sort of knocking it square to Nkunku against Bournemouth. And then he sort of barreled his way through and scored. So, you know, that's one of those where the assist didn't make the goal. Very much the goal scorer did.
Yeah, that's fair.
But even so, he was. You could see there was danger when he was on the ball, and I think he just suits Chelsea quite well. I mean, look, will he be their number 1 left winger? Who knows? Because again, they've got so many options, but I think he's got the ability to nail that position and show why he deserves to be there.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously the situation at Man United, I think he had to go, no matter how good he was. I think he absolutely had to go just because of the situation. I'm not really surprised that he's doing okay. I don't think he's a terrible player. But yeah, it would just be interesting. I mean, and obviously, like you said, Chelsea have so many wingers. He made it very clear at Man United that he wanted to play on the left, and he was told in no uncertain terms that ain't going to happen. It will be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm kind of talking to Chelsea. Obviously, last year it was all Cole Palmer, really, wasn't it? It was the Cole Palmer show. Obviously, with England and maybe a slightly stunted pre-season, I think we're expecting him to slow down a little bit. But in 5 games, he's scored twice, set up 4, and somehow I feel like he's kind of flying under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the very common case of, oh, you've done well now, we know what to expect of you, so the bar is that much higher.
Yeah, and maybe right when these kind of unbelievable numbers do stop, it will be made very clear. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if this was last season, you know, then we'd be going, wow, you know, how good's he? But because it's just like, yeah, that's what he does, it is a bit different. Maybe if he was leading like the Golden Boot race or something, you know, then you go, oh, he's doing incredible, but there's not much chance of that when Haaland's about. But yeah, I think that they've started the season well. There's a few games that seem like anomalies because they're starting to work together, and I mean, I think they could have got 5 or 6 against West Ham. I was watching the game, and then they brought on Nkunku, João Felix, and Neto, and I was like, how was that fair? You know, you're already 3-0 up, and then you bring on all those players. Like, it's mental. The and type of players they've got, but it should mean they're successful in one way or another. Whether that's getting back into the top four, whether that's winning a trophy or something. They should be able to not be a mid-table club again.
Yeah, I think my worry about Chelsea is leadership specifically. So the 3 players that have captained Chelsea, according to the website I'm currently on, which is a stats website called FBref.com. Not a sponsor, but we're open to a conversation should you like one. The 3 players that are said to have captained Chelsea this season are Enzo Fernandez, obviously club captain, Caicedo and Disasi. Do you see any leaders in that Chelsea squad, bar maybe Cucurella, who's just a bit mad?
Not really.
I don't see any. None jump out at me. Can you get through a whole season without having someone like that?
Yeah, and that's why I didn't expect them to do great, because they lost Thiago Silva, who was very much a leader, and especially in a rocky defence. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be the test of time, whether someone steps up and says, right, I'm taking charge here.
Yeah, I see him conceding a goal, Cucurella maybe having a scream, and everyone else just kind of dropping their heads.
Yeah.
And I think the longer the season goes on, the bigger of an issue that's going to be. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, we've talked through Chelsea, Man United, Spurs, and kind of the highlight of the last 2 weeks, which was Arsenal City, really. So, shall we move on to our predictions for next week?
Just...
Or by the time you listen, you already know the results. So we are recording this on Saturday the 28th.
In the morning.
So
bit before any games happened. Oh, look at that! We got them all correct.
So in about an hour and a half, Newcastle City kicks off. So what have you gone for that, Jake?
I've gone a bit controversial, and I've gone for a 2-1 Newcastle win. So I know that Newcastle haven't been at their best, I don't think, this season. But I just think with City, no De Bruyne, no Rodri, maybe a few heads just drop a little. Their dependables aren't quite there. They've still got Haaland. Foden may start. I don't know how he's doing with his recovery. But I just see Newcastle able to get something. And I think it could be similar to when Spurs went up there. Of sure, City will have a lot of ball, a lot of chances, but maybe Newcastle can hold on long enough and manage to snatch something.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I kind of see it fairly similar, but I just think City will win it.
Well,
I think Newcastle could hang on, think it could be close, but I'm going to go with 2-1 City.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the other way, but, got to go risky a few times.
All right, well, let's test your loyalty to Spurs, and we're going to go with Arsenal-Leicester. I've gone with 1-0 Arsenal, which I think is quite conservative. What have you
I haven't
gone
been
with?
very loyal. I've gone with 4-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I should have probably gone with a few more, but I don't know. Arsenal have been quite, as I said, pragmatic over the last few weeks. Maybe they'll get 1-0 with 20 minutes to go and just shut up shop.
Yeah, I just see them being far too much for Leicester. I haven't been that impressed with them in the games I've watched them. So I think Arsenal at home should really blow them away, unless obviously Winks and Skip each score a hat-trick.
Right, so we move on to... would you call Brentford West Ham a London derby? That seems a bit of a stretch, doesn't it?
Well, they're both in London.
They're kind of... but they're two complete opposite sides of London, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with the term sort of London derby for a lot of times, because, you think, like, Spurs Fulham is never that charged. It it often just feels like another game. Um, but yeah, Brentford West Ham could be a very interesting one. Um, I think Brentford have probably had the better start to the season, but I've actually gone for a 2-1 West Ham win.
Oh wow, okay.
Because look, West Ham do have quality. I think they have been underperforming, but I see them able to get something from this game. But again, it could go either way.
Yeah, I see what you mean about West Ham and maybe the new signings that haven't quite bedded in, i.e. Tadibo at the back. I believe they're missing Alvarez because of the League Cup red card, which could be a big issue, I think. I'm pretty sure that Fulkrug will be injured still after he got injured on international duty. That said, I mean, he's been useless so far, so I don't think it's a big miss. But yeah, I was considering going for a Brentford win, and I'm sort of regretting it, but I've gone with 2-2.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think there'll be a couple of goals in it. Well, I think it will be a Desmond, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. But yeah, I've gone with 2-2. So now, Chelsea versus the club they tried to buy, Brighton. Or, well, Brighton versus Brighton B, I guess. But yeah, what have you gone with that?
I've gone with 3-1 Chelsea. I think they're gonna turn it on at home. I think we've seen that Brighton can be got at. And yeah, I know that João Pedro's out for Brighton and he's popped up with a few goals. Welbeck could be immense again.
Yeah, Welbeck's been fantastic
was it like
to start this
the
season.
first free kick he scored against Forest? I think I saw. But
I don't know if I've ever seen him take one before that.
Yeah, it might be the first one he took.
Possibly.
But yeah, he's been really good to start the season, so he could well cause a lot of problems for that Chelsea defence. But yeah, I see Chelsea weathering the storms and turning them over.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've gone a little bit more optimistic. I've gone with 1-1.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe at Chelsea that seems a little bit too optimistic. But I've been impressed with Brighton.
Yeah.
I mean, we always seem to be, don't we? Everyone's always impressed with Brighton. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't think I'll be that far wrong. So I've gone with 1-1. But yeah, right. The next one, at Goodison, Everton Palace. I've decided this is a must not lose, and Sean Dyche is going to find a way to draw 0-0. What have you gone with?
That is fair. I've gone with 2-1 Palace.
There will be some chaos if it ends 2-1 Palace.
Yeah. Would Everton take the lead and bottle it again? I mean, that could cause riots.
That can't happen again, can it? Yeah, that just can't happen.
Especially
again.
if it's late on. Yeah, I Palace haven't really got going this season. You know, they're not the Palace of the end of last season, but I feel like they can do a job at Goodison. As you say, Everton just can't be losing. They've got to be getting points somewhere or another. I did see that they're getting a new takeover that, you know, hopefully will go through for them and can sort them out. But apparently if they come in, they'll replace Dyche. I think I saw. So
yeah, it's not a very happy marriage, Everton and Dyche at the moment, and I get that. But if you want to play that new stadium in the Premier League, you need him. You need him for the end of the year. Because what you're going to do, sack Dyche, replace him with another Dyche until the end of the year, and then do something. I'd just make it very clear, look, if you have a really unbelievably good end to the year, you'll get another one. Otherwise, we're gonna give you the year, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in sacking him unless you think you really are in very, very imminent danger.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the points deduction, with the transfers gone, he's done what he does, hasn't he, Dyche? He's shut up, not complained, and he's kept them
The
up.
thing is, they've had some good performances as well. Like against Bournemouth, that they were cruising, and then there was just that late capitulation. So it's not like they've been hopeless, but they need to really get some points now, because you don't want to be cut adrift. You don't want to be, without any hope. And yeah, I'll be disappointed for them if they do lose, but Palace are another good side. If it was at Selhurst, then I think I'd be much more confident of a Palace win, but I still think they can win at Goodison.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. Right, we'll move on to probably I think it would be fair to say, maybe the one that people aren't that looking forward to. It would probably be the last game and match of the day, unless something else ends 0-0. And we'll go to Forest Fulham.
Well,
what have you gone with that?
Forest scored twice last week. Fulham scored 3 times. So I've gone with 3. No, I haven't. I've gone with 2-1 Forest actually.
I've actually gone the same.
Oh, wow! First one that's joint. Okay, so yeah, I think both teams have a nice bit of creativity. One thing obviously for Forest is that they're without Gibbs White after he was sent off.
Yeah, big miss.
But I've liked Hudson-Odoi, who won a pen for them last week, and yeah, I think Wood is always a threat in the box, and I think that they can edge the game. I expect it to be tight. Fulham have been really good at the start of the season.
Yeah,
better
absolutely.
than I expected. I regret my call about Muniz now, though.
I was gonna say,
yeah, it's not turned out how I hope. Although there's still time.
He scored against he scored a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? Maybe that was in the cup though.
Yeah. I know he should have scored a few goals, but he didn't. But yeah, I think that Forest will be able to edge it, and yeah, should be able to win 2-1.
Yeah, I've gone the same. I think that home advantage as well at the City ground does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah. Alright, now we're on to 2 of the teams I hate the most, I think is fair to say. In Wolves and Liverpool. As a adopted West Brom fan for uni, and then Man United, lifelong Man United fan. I hope they both lose, but probably Liverpool a little bit more. But unfortunately, I've gone with the only thing that makes sense, and a Liverpool win. I don't see them conceding to Wolves. I've gone with 3-0 Liverpool.
I've gone similarly. I went 3-1.
Well, you have gone with a goal for Wolves. You give them more credit than I do.
I think Liverpool's defence hasn't been as secure as it has been in the past. And don't get me wrong, Wolves are not the most threatening side, but I think they'll find a way to score. Whether it's Liverpool being caught playing out from the back or something, because a lot of teams have been caught recently. It's quite maddening. But yeah, I still expect a dominant display from Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. So moving into Sunday, we've got Ipswich Villa at Ipswich under the Sky TV cameras. As much as I'd love to push Portman Road kind of making the difference, I've gone with a very specific scoreline. I think Ipswich will go 1-0 up. Then I think Villa will equalise. I think Villa will get another one. And then at about 85 minutes, I think John Duran's going to clean it off, get the third, and it's going to end 3-1. What have you gone with?
3-1. Yeah, I can see Ipswich taking the lead. I mean, this is just what happened against Wolves for Villa, isn't it?
It's what seems to happen every week for Villa, isn't it? John Duran just kind of finishes the game off, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could we even get a Duran? You might get 2 late ones. Yeah, I think it will be a difficult place to go. But I mean, Villa's quality should shine through.
Yeah, no, fully with you. As much as I want to see Ipswich win, I don't mind seeing Villa win either. I just want to see a good game, to be honest. Right, in the next one where I really don't want to see a good game, I want to see it be very, very simple. Man United Spurs. So at Old Trafford,
Yep.
I'll let you go first. What are you going with?
I've gone with 3-2, Man United.
Wow, that's unbelievable because I've gone with 2-0 Spurs.
Well, we
I
both
think
agree
my-
that Spurs will score twice.
Yeah, I think my issue with your scoreline is you have to leave big gaps for the wingers. Otherwise, I just don't see us scoring.
Well, the thing is,
we've mentioned that.
we
I
do
just-
that a lot. That's the thing.
Yeah, but our wingers also have to be up for it as well.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. You've been very wasteful
Yeah,
with possession and with shots
Opportunities
and
as well,
chances.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the
but-
first half against FC20 we were decent. Second half we were really bad. After the bloke ran through the team. And I just don't know what we're going to do at the moment. I mean, Eriksen's, like I said, rejuvenated. Is it the game where Ugarte comes in and plays with Mainu from the start?
Mm.
There's been suggestions that Bruno's going to get dropped. I mean, I don't
Mm.
quite understand that. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I think the back four's kind of set in stone until Luke Shaw's fit. Does Højlund get a run out? I'd imagine he'll come off the bench. I just think there's a lot of uncertainties with us, and none of them really make me think we're going to score a load of goals. So
Yeah.
that's why I've gone with us not scoring.
Well, when we played you at Old Trafford last season, hadn't you just had that run of like not scoring in X amount of games, and then you scored
you are
twice
right.
against us?
Yeah,
So we do have a knack for helping people with their issues and saying, "Oh, you haven't scored in a while. Go on, have a goal. You deserve it. Go on." So that's what I'm sort of feeling. I hope to God we win, but this way, at least I won't be super depressed if we lose.
yeah. Maybe I've gone with a similar tactic. Yeah. And to end it off on Monday night, we have the I don't know what you'd call it. South Coast Derby seems a bit too general.
Yeah. South
Yeah.
Coast clash.
South Coast clash, yeah, because I think the Portsmouth
Clash of
Southampton
the
game's a little bit better.
Southerners.
Yeah, but yes, it is the Saints away at. What's Bournemouth's nickname?
Cherries.
Oh, yeah, that's bad from me. Yeah,
Mm.
oh, the Saints are going to go marching in to try and eat their cherries.
Yeah, cherry picking.
And I've gone with 2-1 Bournemouth, but I have to be honest, I have absolutely no idea how that's going to go.
I've gone the same.
Well, there we go.
I think I'll say that Bournemouth go 2-0 up, and then Southampton get one late on, and it starts getting a bit nervy, but Bournemouth hold through.
I do feel like Southampton are going to start picking up a few points, if I'm honest. I don't think they're going to have a Burnley situation. I do think they've got a little bit more, maybe not robustness, but maybe they've got a little bit more maturity and fight within the team.
Yeah.
And obviously I think the big difference is they've got a Premier League standard goalkeeper, which Bournemouth didn't have. And that is, again, like a set-piece team, it is 10-15 points sometimes, a good goalkeeper. Yeah, and maybe this is the week that they start picking up points again. I don't know. Yeah, honestly, not a clue. So I've gone a conservative 2-1 Bournemouth win.
Yeah, I think that will most likely be the case. I'd be shocked if Southampton win. Obviously, a draw can always be on the cards, but yeah, I think that Bournemouth should be somewhat comfortable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Well, that rounds off the predictions. Did you want to end with a little quick fire quiz?
Quick fire quiz, sure. Yeah. Why not?
All right. So what we're going to do is I've got Immaculate Footy up as
Okay.
our some of our best friends. Again, sponsorship is open should you want to. So I've got grid 116 up, and I'll ask you kind of bit by bit. So I'll ask you square by square, and we'll try and do it together.
Yeah,
So I've had a look through these. I've
I'm
got a
just
few
getting it up
ideas.
now so that I can
Yeah,
see.
116.
116.
And we'll see between us if we can
409.
fill out the grid.
So they weren't that high before. 116. Let's just find it. 409 does have Spurs. Can we do that one?
Right.
Oh,
So the team.
I meant to say, did you see Spurs' tweet after the Karabag game?
I don't believe I did.
We tweeted something like, we went down to 10 men but kept playing the way we want to.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
After, yeah. But all the Arsenal fans were just livid in the comment section. It's just like, oh, thank you, you're funding our next transfer window.
See, that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see in football, don't it? That little bit of bad feeling just makes every game better.
It's just a little bit of banter where you just drop a one line and then leave, and everyone squabbles and whatnot. It's oh, okay, this one's interesting.
All right, so 116.
Yeah.
So I've got a few ideas. There's a few I can't fill in. I'll give you 30 seconds to have a think.
Across the top, we have Fulham, West Ham, and Villa. And then across the side, we have Newcastle, Barcelona, and Ghana.
Newcastle and Fulham. Have you got any ideas for that?
Newcastle, Fulham. To be honest, I've only just started looking. Why is Barcelona in it, though?
Yeah, I know. English football,
a bit
apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I can kick us off then. I'll go with Newcastle and Fulham. I've got Mitrovic.
Mitrovic, of course. Yes. Mitro.
Right, so next we've got West Ham and Newcastle.
West Ham and Newcastle. I feel like there's a really obvious one.
Yeah, there's one very obvious.
Oh, God.
Currently plays for Bordeaux.
Bordeaux. Andy Carroll.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
Yeah.
I've also thought of Kevin Nolan.
Yeah, of course. I need my brain to wake up.
Villa and Newcastle. I actually haven't got anything written down. There's got to be some.
Why do I always think of goalkeepers when it comes to Newcastle? Or Villa? Yeah. Is Matt Target? Did he play for Villa?
Oh yeah, he smashed it. He did.
Oh,
fantastic!
I was on target there.
So Fulham and Barcelona. I'm gonna put you out of your misery. There is one very obvious one. It's Adama Traore.
Oh yes, of course.
So yes, that's the only one I could think of. But I actually think there are a few more in recent memory. West Ham and Barcelona. I've got a couple, but I'll let you stew over.
Okay. I mean, they're not quite on the same level. I don't know how many times they've shared players, but I mean, I can't really remember too many. I'm trying to think of players being sold to Barcelona.
I'd go the other way. I think.
Go the other way.
There's a player that played for Arsenal as well, holding midfielder. His last name is the kind of thing you'd find on Spotify.
Music.
Or
Song.
Alexander Song, yeah.
Oh, God.
There you go. I thought that was quite a good clue.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a couple of others. When what's his name, Manuel Pellegrini came in.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got a lot of old players in then.
Yeah, it was a Spanish contingent, but I can't remember.
Right.
Barcelona and Villa. of
Oh.
recent memory, there's got to be a few, isn't there?
Did Digne play for Barca?
He did. Yeah. Well done. Well done.
There we go.
Right. I'm just filling them in as well. Right. Here's where it gets a little bit tougher.
No.
I've got West Ham and Newcastle and Villa's Ghanaians, but I haven't got one for Fulham.
Fulham.
I know a few African players that played for Fulham, but I can't think of Ghana specifically.
Yeah, I can think of West Ham.
Go on, who have you got for West Ham?
I can't remember which one, but didn't one of the Ayew brothers play for them?
Andre played for West Ham.
Andre. It was Andre. I thought it was him.
I can tell you that Jordan actually played for Villa as well.
Oh. Okay.
So they were the two I had. So a Ghanaian that's played for Fulham. Right, so of African nationalities, Calvin Bassey is Nigerian. Jean-Michel Seri, who's now at Hull, I think could be Ghanaian, but I can't remember.
That's a shout, yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other Ghanaian players.
Harry Wilson.
Yeah, it's not the easiest. I think Seri might be from the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, I didn't feel. Yeah, I didn't feel that he was Ghanaian. This could be a case of having to go back a few years.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've done well. We've got 8 out of 9 so far. This is the
Ademola
final score.
Lookman is Nigerian, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Nigerian.
So not Bassey or Lookman. And same with Iwobi. Iwobi's Nigerian.
Why can't it be Nigeria?
Yeah, I know. Can't think of a goalkeeper. Jeff Schlupp, I believe, is Ghanaian, but I don't remember him ever playing for Fulham. All right. Well, what do you want to go with? Should we have a guess?
I don't have a Scooby.
All right. Let's go with Schlupp. Let's hope that one day he played for Fulham. It is incorrect. So the Ghanaian players that played for Fulham,
There was 6.
were 6.
So they weren't 6 years old. I'm getting an error, so you might have to
Yeah,
find it.
I'm just trying to look it up.
Well, I can tell you the most common answer of 60% was John Paintstill.
Right,
Do
so
you remember him?
I can't say I do, if I'm honest. Right, I'm on Fulham Wiki,
Okay.
and apparently there is Kenny Acheampong,
Oh yeah.
Elvis Hammond, not Richard Hammond's brother, I don't think. Buhari was released. Paintstill, there you go.
Yep.
Emmanuel Frimpong on loan from Arsenal.
Oh.
Derek Boateng, and most recently, who I've actually seen
Fraser.
play for Fulham live, Dennis Adoy. But yeah, well, there you go. I don't think that's too bad. 8 out of 9.
Oh. You back?
Yep. I don't
Yep,
think that's
cool.
too bad. 8 out of 9, is it?
Yeah. We did pretty well. Obviously, that square was the least common. Only 38% of people got Ghanaian Villa, interestingly, but 72% got Ghanaian West Ham.
So you can remember
of
his
course.
brother.
No, Kudus is Ghanaian.
Oh,
So
there you go.
He's for Villa, Barcelona, you could have had Coutinho.
Coutinho
Yeah.
is not Ghanaian.
No, for Villa, Barcelona.
Oh dear. We need to stop recording these early in the morning, I think.
West Ham, Barca, you could have had Mascherano as well.
Oh, yeah.
Milner for Villa and Newcastle.
I
if
didn't
there's
actually
Villa,
know
always
Milner
go
played for
Milner.
Newcastle.
Yeah, long time ago. But yeah, that was good.
Yeah, nice
That
way
was a
to
good
replace the
attempt.
void that Soccer AM left as well, I think.
Yeah,
Starting off the
honestly, just get
podcast in
us
the
on
morning.
Sky. You know?
But yeah. All right, well, thank you
£1
very
grand
much,
a week.
Jake. I'll take £1 a year for this. But yeah, thank you very much, Jake.
Yeah,
hope
it's been
Spurs
good.
lose tomorrow.
What?
And we shall catch up soon. We've also got a few other things planned potentially
We do.
over the
Ooh.
next few weeks. We might do a little transfer 11 where we pick a player from each club.
Yeah. Because the transfer
A new
window's
transfer.
only just shut, which is why, we couldn't do it yet. Yep.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure anyone
Yeah.
that was going on those kind of free transfers we didn't
Yeah.
miss.
There's been a few frees. Yeah.
But yeah, so we might give that a little go. But yeah, we'll keep you informed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you soon.
Thank you for joining us. A like and a follow is greatly appreciated, and don't forget you can rate if you're listening on Spotify. This has been Football with the Faff. Goodbye.